We're excited to have with us today Ken Bradford, who is Assistant Superintendent with the Louisiana Department of Education. So with that, Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the introduction, Rob. We'll go ahead and get started. Our Louisiana Course Choice Program, this is what I'll do and how I'll lay it out. I'll give you an overview of where course choice was in the legislation last spring, and then I'll talk about how course choice ties into our overall Louisiana Believes vision. And following that, I'll tell you how far we've come since last May in the legislative session, and fast forward to where we are today. And in doing so, we will take some time and we'll walk through the program overview, whom our course choice providers are going to be for this year, the type of course offerings that they're going to deliver, and our quality control mechanisms in our timeline, and we'll take question and answers. And when I spoke with Rob earlier on, we figured how we'll take the questions is I'll work through a slide. Following working through the slide, we'll come over and we'll look in the chat box and answer any of the questions that may have arisen in the chat box. So I'll go ahead and get started. And let's just start with course choice. Last spring in the March to June legislative session, the first 3 acts were legislative acts that were passed out of the legislative session and signed by the governor. The first one, the one we're going to talk about today is Act 2. And what the intention of Act 2 was to give students and parents an unprecedented choice in developing personal education pathways for their children. We also wanted to provide through Act 2 innovative career and technical education courses, internships, and apprenticeships for students so that they could get the type of jobs that Louisiana needs filled. We also wanted to provide an avenue for students to have access to rigorous course offerings. We also wanted to expand the number of high-quality elementary and middle school offerings that could be made available to students. And most importantly, we wanted to help students just match the course offerings that they needed to complete a particular diploma pathway that is tailored and suits the needs of their instruction. So the legislation was passed, and what the legislation did was it authorized our State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to approve and authorize course providers to participate in the Course Choice Program. And what the legislation stated was that if there was an entity that wanted to be a course provider, and knowing the audience today with iNACOL, we typically talk about online course providers. That was one entity that could come to the table and offer courses through the Course Choice Program. But it was also included, online course providers, face-to-face course providers, and a school system could be a course provider. Individual teachers could be course providers. We invited business and industry to the table to be course providers, and all of our post-secondary institutions in the state of Louisiana have applied to be course choice providers. What makes the program unique is that, number one, it's a program where the funding will follow the student to the course provider. And Act 2 stated that a course provider could put their course in the course catalog, and they would put a tuition price in there. And their tuition could not exceed 1/6 of 90% of a student's MFP dollars. And the MFP in Louisiana, that is the funding that a school district is assigned for a student. So again, to emphasize, course providers had to submit a tuition bid. The statute said it had to be a fair market value, and it could not exceed 1/6 of 90% of the MFP. And so at that point in time, what the department did was we released an RFA last July. And we said, if you would like to be a quality course provider of courses for students in the state of Louisiana, please submit an application. We had a 4-stage application review process. We received 94 application packages of entities wanting to be course providers. We started with a due diligence review of the application packet that was submitted. It was followed up by a face-to-face interview, and then they went in front of an independent panel review. And finally, in December, there were 45 of the original 94 applicants that were authorized by our state board to deliver courses starting July 1 of 2013 school year in the Course Choice Program. I should note that we're going to talk a little bit about the eligibility of students. And so let's talk about Course Choice. So the Course Choice Program, it's individual courses that are offered by third-party course providers that have been evaluated by the Department of Education and approved by our state board. Our registration system went live on March the 7th. I'm going to go in and show you the registration website. All course providers can start offering their courses beginning August the 13th, and they must conclude by June the 30th of 2014. Now, we talked about that funding that would follow the student and go to the provider for the courses that they have sought out in our course catalog. Of the 45 course providers, 42 are going to offer courses in year 1 of the Course Choice Program. There's approximately 900 course titles for K-12 course offerings, and there's an additional 500 plus course titles for post-secondary credit by our higher ed institutions in the state. In order for the student to be eligible for any of our course offerings in the catalog, if they are attending a C, D, or F school, they are deemed what's in statute is called eligible funded. And that means that if I am going to a school that has a label, a school performance grade, and I'm labeled a C, D, or F school, I am eligible to take any courses in the Course Choice catalog. If I'm a student that's at an A or B school, I'm eligible for those courses that are not offered at my school. So I've given a high-level overview of the Course Choice Program. It was in statute. We had an RFA process. Following the RFA process, 45 providers were authorized. At this point in time, we have deployed a Course Choice registration system that it is student and parent driven, that is aligned to our Louisiana Believes vision, and that's that our vision is that Louisiana students and parents should be provided with the educational choices that are going to enable them to achieve high academic standards and have access to a full course catalog. So at this time, I'll go to the chat, and I'll see if anyone has any questions relative to the Course Choice Program overview before we get into whom are our course providers and what are the type of courses. Okay. I am currently on slide 2 as well. I'm sorry, I have moved into slide 3, Course Choice Program Overview. There was a question here, the first time, was there an attempt to more closely mirror the Utah law that opened course choice to any student, even if their school offered the course locally? When the program first rolled out, we looked at several programs. We looked at some of the current statute in Florida regarding the students being able to have access to Florida virtual school course offerings, and we did also look at the Utah model. I would say that one of the differences between the Utah model and the model here is that the course providers in the Louisiana Course Choice Program, it's not limited to just school systems. Of our 42 course providers that are going to be delivering courses in Course Choice for this upcoming school year, 5 of our providers are school systems. Question is coming relative to the funding. The ceiling for a student as determining the course cost, which was 1/6 of 90% of the MFP. That was outlined in our statute. And as we walk through a little bit more, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the funding mechanism and how when students shop for their courses, they will see the 1/6 of the 90% of the MFP and the course costs and how that's all related to their shopping experience. Okay. Moving on to our slide number 4, which is our course choice provider overview. We talked about the 45 providers that have been authorized to offer courses, and we have 20 of those providers will offer online courses. 12 of our providers are going to offer face-to-face courses, and there are 13 providers which are offering a combination or a hybrid course offering. Regarding transportation, a lot of the providers built transportation services and costs into their tuition bids. So in select cases, the LEAs are responsible for students in their parish to transport them to a site that may be offering a course choice offering which is outside of their school. But the vast majority of our course providers, where there was going to be a transportation component, they built that into their tuition bid. The majority of our courses for high school students, that's where they are. The majority of them are high school students. But there are a limited number of offerings for our K-8 students. There are some course offerings in the foreign language. There are some ELA course offerings, and there are some math course offerings for our students in the middle school. 25 of the 45 providers have roots in Louisiana. Some of them are educational entrepreneurs. That means that they were either a teacher or there was a consortium of teachers that came together and wanted to offer a course offering through the Course Choice Program. And five of our authorized providers are school systems themselves. All of our state community technical colleges and universities will be providers. We also have a couple of non-public private universities and colleges that are offering courses such as Dillard University and Bard College. 13 course providers will offer advanced placement courses. In addition, 6 will offer dual enrollment courses. And 13 providers will offer career and technical education courses that are going to help those students earn industry-based certifications. I'll pause for a moment to see if there's any questions that may come into the chat. Okay, I don't see any questions that have come in. I'll go on to our next slide. The courses that have been submitted by our providers relative to advanced placement and dual enrollment, students are going to have an immediate access to a full range of advanced placement courses. Currently in Louisiana, only 48% of our students have access to advanced placement courses on their high school campuses. So through the Course Choice Program now, through multiple providers, students are going to have access to a suite of advanced placement courses that you see outlined on the right-hand slide. Every one of our Louisiana state public community technical colleges and universities have submitted courses to the course catalog. Bard Early College in New Orleans, Dillard University, and the University of New Orleans Training Resource and Assistive Technology Center are also offering college-level courses. Relative to our career and technical education courses, students are going to be able to earn high school credits, industry-based certifications, and post-secondary credit now through several of our course choice options. They'll have access to a range of internships, apprenticeships, many of which are going to qualify these students for the higher wages and high demand jobs in Louisiana. As an example, I would point out we have several of our CTE course providers are tied to business and industry. We have an oil patch course, which is in the oil industry here, where a student can take a course and get several of the credentials that are needed in order to work in the oil field industry. We have a school system, the St. James Parish Public School System, the Caddo Parish School System, our Bossier Parish School System, and several of them have opened up their CTE course offerings now statewide for students so that they can go there and participate in these rigorous CTE programs, and programs of relevance where students can come out of there with an IBC. And so I'm going to take one of the questions that has come up on the slide, and is that 48% of the high schools? That is correct. Currently in the state of Louisiana, when we run the data on our course offerings at our local high schools, approximately 50% of the high schools currently have an advanced placement course offering in their school. What are the certification requirements for teachers of these courses? Yeah, that depends on the type of course offering. CTE courses, the instructors looking for the NCCC-ER endorsement, so that these instructors, when they're delivering the courses, for instance, if it's a welding course, that when they come out, they're meeting the requirements so they can get the IBC. For our post-secondary institutions, we have institutions that maintain a SACS accreditation. So for the SACS accreditation institutes, those instructors must meet the requirements of the instruction on the campus of that particular institution or university. We have several of the core academic courses that will be offered in a full range of disciplines that are going to enable students to graduate on time or early, utilizing approved diploma pathways. Currently in Louisiana, there are 3 diplomas that a student could earn. One of those is a career diploma, which has a focus of CTE, where students take a series of courses in the CTE career and technical pathway, one of the clusters, so that they get the diploma. They come out with they take a 6-course sequence to get an area of concentration and come out with an industry-based certification. We also have a basic core diploma and a core 4 diploma, which is your core academic work, with the core 4 diploma, which is a college track diploma. And so now we're putting all these tables on the menu for this, all these courses on the table for these students, so they'll have access to several of the courses. Additionally, I'm sorry, if someone that just joined can please put your phone on, your volume on mute. Again, somebody that has just joined the call, please ensure that your phone is on mute. You're giving a lot of background noise. Thank you. We currently have a Louisiana virtual school, a state-run virtual school, which serves approximately 6,000 student enrollments per year, course enrollments per year. As we move forward with our Course Choice Program, our virtual school program will transition, and the staff that has been associated with working with our virtual school program will transition into the Course Choice Program. Several of those high-demand course offerings that were offered in the virtual school, we have assured that those will still be available for students through the Course Choice Program. I'm going to go to the next slide, middle and elementary school courses. There are a limited number of academic courses offered to the middle and elementary school students that focus on math, ELA, and foreign language. All middle and elementary school courses are going to be offered by course providers with proven track records of effectiveness of teaching in those grades. We also have a gifted student program that has been submitted by one of our providers that will be available to students in grades 3 to 8. Quality control. Our course providers is, 45 were authorized, 42 have opted to deliver their courses in year 1 of the Course Choice Program. The course providers are going to be required to provide updates on their student progress 2 times a month. On the 1st and the 15th of the month, they will submit their student grades and progress into our course choice registration system. And I will take some time and walk you through the course registration system process, but it's modeled similar to the Florida virtual schools in that a student or parent selects a course offering, and step 2 in the registration process is that that school counselor validates the enrollment to ensure that it's academically doable, it's logistically possible for the student to take that course. They're doing a validation check to ensure that students are enrolling in appropriate courses that meets one of the diploma pathways that they're on. And counselors will have an administrative dashboard into the system. So every provider on the 1st and the 15th will be feeding a grade in progress into this system, and counselors at any given point in time at the local school level will be able to come into the system, see how their students are doing in the courses. They'll have access to the provider contacts, and they can dialogue with the providers as needed. Each course provider also has had to outline a set of specific student learning objectives and course accountability metrics that are assigned for each of their course offerings. The course choice team is going to continuously monitor all providers, both for the student progress, provider grade distributions, and course provider warning messages that go to the school counselors. Course providers will have a substantial stake in the success of each student. Since a course provider will not receive any part of the second 50% of their tuition unless students successfully complete a course. The Department of Education will provide annual reports on course providers. Yeah, a question from Charlotte says, what are the certification requirements for a core high school courses? This is addressed a couple of places. One is that the instructors hold credentialing or degrees in the appropriate content area. We also have a reciprocity agreements with other providers in other states that was outlined in statute. So for instance, if I was certified in the state of Florida and I'm delivering a course in Florida, that reciprocity is recognized in Louisiana. How will students access courses? The statute in Act 2 said that the Department of Education and the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education would publish a course catalog no later than January 1st of 2013. So until our course registration system came live, the site where you would go to is on our Department of Education homepage, and you can go here and you could download a hard copy of the most recent version of the course catalog, and that's our department website, www.louisianabelieves.com. What went soft opening last Friday evening was our course choice registration portal. It went fully operational beginning Monday of this week at www.louisianacoursechoice.net. Now, what I should let you know about the course choice registration portal is that it is a student and parent-driven registration system. It's modeled after the kayak search. So if any of you have ever searched in kayak for a flight, for a hotel room, if you start typing in like Algebra 1, it will start pre-populating the fields and the drop-down box will fill up. And I would encourage you to go look at this site, and we'll try to pull it up here in a little bit. I'll go to the web browsing and we'll go look at it. But parents and students will determine which courses they register for as long as they meet the key requirements, and that is that it's keeping their student on the graduation pathway, and that it's logistically doable, and that the student meets the course prerequisites. I should note that we also have several of these course offerings. They're not only online courses, but they are face-to-face course offerings. And so there's a feature built into our registration where students will put in their zip code, and they can search for courses by different radiuses from wherever they reside. They could, from 10, 25, 50, 100 miles. What is the radius that that some of the face-to-face course options are available? We have some questions coming up. Yeah, so there is a question up here. Again, it's coming back to the funding and just assuring accountability. And I want to emphasize that for and why this process has taken up until this point 9 months to get fully implemented and off the ground, and in addition to all the technical logistics of ramping up a registration system like this, is that each course provider for each of their courses has accountability standards, and it's course specific. So for instance, if we're offering a course, core academic courses, in Louisiana where we have end of course testing, there are benchmarks in there for each of the providers that regarding their end of course results. For instance, on algebra, if a student takes algebra, they're held accountable for those students based on that final benchmark test of the end of course test. Advanced placement courses, same thing. There's an advanced placement exam for those advanced placement courses. On our CTE courses, there's student learning objectives for student attainment of industry-based certifications. And I should note that the law clearly states that a provider gets 50% of their tuition upon a successful enrollment. And a successful enrollment is that a student has enrolled in the course, they've started the coursework, they've gone through the 2-week add drop period for a course, and they are in the course after 2 weeks, and they have successfully started coursework. The provider receives the second 50% payment upon the student completing the course. There is a penalty, a payment penalty for the provider if the student does not complete the course on time. The provider receives 40% of the payment, and that is outlined in the statute about the payment terms. In all course, if the student does not complete the course, the provider does not receive the second payment of the course offering. Here were our key course choice implementation dates. We made our course catalog available the 1st of January. Starting in mid-January, we had a series of professional school counselor webinar support calls. In mid-February, this very comprehensive registration system was available for beta testing. We continued our series of school counselor webinars. We outlined the policies and the procedures of the Course Choice Program. We launched on March 11th the Course Choice registration system. In late summer of 2013, the Course Choice registration system will close for enrollments. We'll then enter an add drop period, and August the 13th is the start date for Course Choice course offerings. What I'll do now is we'll go to the feature up here, and hopefully some of you have done this already, because I see where we have already, over in our text chat, put the URL. This is the Course Choice registration portal, LouisianaCourseChoice.net. And to show you a couple of things on the screen, over on the left-hand side, it talks about how to register. It's a series of 3 slides. A student will start. Anybody out there can go search the course catalog right now. This is an easy 1, 2, 3 steps. Here's how you do it. Are you eligible? We talked about this earlier about being an eligible funded student. And when we look at whether or not you're eligible, and when we pull this up, and this is hard coming through on site, but what you'll notice is when you pull that up, and I encourage for those of you out there that are walking through this right now to pull this screen up. When you pull the screen up and the Are You Eligible screen, what you will see is it tells you who's eligibly funded. It will show you a link to where you can go and see what the school report cards are, so that you will know if you're at an A or B school, which says that you're eligible for courses in the course catalog in which they are currently not offered at your school. It will also link you and show you that if you're at a C, D, or F school, which means you will be eligible for anything which is in the course catalog as long as it's aligned to your high school diploma pathway. We've also established a Course Choice Counselor Assistance Center. We have on staff available Monday through Friday in the evenings and on the weekends 5 licensed professional school counselors that are available at you can call the toll-free number 1-877-453-2721 and ask to speak to a counselor, and you will be routed to a Louisiana licensed professional school counselor who will work with you on 1, navigating the registration system, 2, identifying appropriate coursework, and 3, providing any type of consultation services that a student, a parent, a provider, a school counselor might have about the Course Choice program. A question from Karen: is the registration system custom designed? Yes, it is. It was designed. We worked in partnership with Agilix Labs on developing the registration system. And so right now what I'm going to put in, now I was testing this earlier through some of the Blackboard Collaborate interface here. We'll see if I can pull it up. But for those of you that are sitting at your desk, I'd also encourage you, a good course to look for instance, would be like an Algebra 1, because there were a few of those in the system. But, here I am. I'm in looking at the courses in the system. Who, what, when, where, the where, you put you would populate this with a zip code. And this is the screen that it brings you up to. So if I'm searching for Algebra 1 right now, again, it's modeled after the kayak feature. You can, up in here, you start typing in your courses, and those of you that are doing this remotely, you'll notice that it will start populating the course title that you're putting in here. Here's what we have here for Algebra 1. So if I'm interested in taking a high school Algebra 1 course through the Louisiana Course Choice Program, I'm in here looking for this, and I see Algebra 1. So again, we're looking at this as I'm shopping for a course. I look down and I see, okay, I have several filters, whether it's I'm looking for online, if I'm looking for a local hybrid, if I'm looking for elementary, middle school, high school, or a college credit algebra course. Here's the providers that showed up, and I'll just point a few of these providers out. We'll take Apex Learning. Apex Learning provides courses nationally across the country. Connections offers those. Some of you, Edgenuity, using the E2020. You may have heard of E2020. Florida Virtual School. Then we get down and we have Jude Dubois. Jude Dubois is a math teacher here in Louisiana who submitted a proposal, for him to offer courses standalone. Aside from the duties that he currently has in his school district, he's decided to be an educational entrepreneur and bring his teaching expertise into the Course Choice Program and deliver a course. The Louisiana School for the Math, Science, and Arts. This is one of our residential schools in the state that offers several course offerings right now, both face-to-face in the Course Choice Program and online courses. PrepWorks, Rocket Learning, and then we see the St. James Parish School System. That was one of those 5 school systems that offered the courses. But what a student can do at this point is you can be looking around and say, you know, I would like to take a course from, let's look at this one, St. James Parish. You click on the St. James Parish course offering, and what you see is, you know, they've submitted a tuition bid of $862. And if that student were to opt to enroll in the course, they would click the enroll button right here. The next screen that shows up as they're clicking to enroll is on the right-hand side. They would see their course offers. They would see it and it would say, okay, you have X amount of dollars available to you to shop for courses. And if they proceed with the registration, then what they're doing is they're giving up one of the courses in their local LEA in order to take a course choice course. And once they hit a final submission, what happens in that next step is that it rolls up to the school counselor. And so again, you know, I'd encourage you to go in here and take a tour of some of the course providers. Here's Jude Dubois, that's a teacher that's offering, you know, Connections Academy. Here's a residential school. So again, you know, tour the catalog. We have 900 K through 12 course title offerings. We have over 500 college credit offerings. And so what I'll do now is I'm going to come down. I'm going to take the remainder of the time and see if I can answer some of these other questions that are coming through about the registration system. Liz is asking, how does the course grade data get sent back to the schools? In year 1 of the course choice implementation, it's currently being transcripted at the school level. This is common practice for school systems in Louisiana. When we ran the numbers early on, you know, we noticed that there were about 6,000 to 7,000 students annually taking courses through our state virtual school. There's another 10,000 students that are taking courses through district-offered third-party providers. There were 20,000 students in the state taking dual enrollment courses. And it's the same concept that the local school will transcript this grade into our student transcript system. Eventually, we would like to get to a point where what a provider is putting into the system does just automatically go into our Department of Education student transcript system. But in year 1, it will be like it's currently done for distance education and third-party course offerings, and that is the local school counselor will transcript the course offerings. A question has come up about who pays for the required textbooks and the lab materials. Part of the Course Choice RFA application package was that course providers must include the necessary course materials for a student to take the course. Now, I should note that it's also outlined in policy that if a student opts to work on one of these courses that they enroll in at their school system, just like they currently have to do for any other third-party courses that they're taking at the school. The school does have a vested responsibility through policy to provide the technical infrastructure for the student to work on these courses. But if the student is going to work on this course at home, the expectation is that that student does have internet access and they do have a laptop. And that's part of why we built the counselor loop into the registration process. Because when they get to that second stage, they've selected their course, and now the counselor validates the enrollment. If there's a known issue with that student being able to have internet access for home, and this is a course that was going to require them to do it off campus, then that might be a reason that a counselor would say, this just isn't academically, this is not logistically feasible for the student. And then what would happen is the counselor at that point in time wouldn't validate the enrollment, and when the enrollment is not validated by the school, then it automatically a message is sent to our Counselor Assistance Center, where our Counselor Assistance Center will be engaged, and they'll work with the school to see if there's another solution for the student to take one of our courses. Now, one of the questions that didn't come up was the tuition costs for the course, and I'll use I'll go back to my high school, my college statistics class, and we'll talk about the mode. What is the mode? And that's the price that we see most often when we're talking about the courses. The mode for one of the course choice course offerings is about $700. To put that in perspective, 1/6 of 90% of a student's MFP is approximately $1,200. So when a student gives up a district course to take a course through the Course Choice Catalog, there's funding there because the mode for these course costs is about $700. Now, I should say that the CTE courses tended to be a little bit higher on their tuition bids, and that comes back to the question that was asked earlier, because course providers are required to provide the instructional materials and supplies for the courses. And given that it might be a welding course, a carpentry course, where there was some special equipment required, that equipment has to be provided by the course provider. The post-secondary course offerings that came in Louisiana, each of the Louisiana systems, they have some parameters and some system-level guidance around what costs they have associated for students. And typically it's the cost in the course choice model that a student who arrived on their campus for a face-to-face course would be offered. But from a Louisiana community and technical college course offering, the mode was $550. For some of our University of Louisiana system courses, like the University of Louisiana Lafayette, the Southeastern Louisiana University, the mode there was somewhere around $620. The LSU system has some course offerings in there around robotics and your entry-level, freshman-level math courses that came in at the $800 price range per course offering. Are other states approaching us about the process? Yeah, we have had inquiries from other states, and I will say that in the development process, we also reached out to other states. We researched what Utah was doing. We had done some research on what the state of Washington was doing. We've always had constant dialogue through our iNACOL partners, as well as our SREB, Southern Region Educational Board partners, and we reached out to other states and school districts that were doing programs very similar to this. Again, coming back to the funding question, and currently as written in statute, that a provider, the ceiling for a course offering was 1/6 of 90% of the MFP. I should state that 10% of that funding always remains with the district. So let's use an example of $10,000. If the MFP for a student for a school district was $10,000, the first $1,000 remains with the school district for administrative and operational costs. That leaves $9,000. The statute also says, and I should have pointed this out, the statute also says that a student must take at least one course at their base school in their LEA. So the first $1,000 remains with the school system for administrative and operational expenses. Then that would leave the student with $9,000. They have to take one course at their local school. So the school system gets that full 1/6 for that course, which 1/6 of, let's say, $9,000 would be $1,500. The student then has a balance of $7,500, of which They can shop for courses through Course Choice, or they can continue to take those courses at their local school. We envision in first year, this will be very much like the a la carte menu that it is for our current virtual school. We don't envision a lot of students coming in and just filling up a basket of courses through Course Choice. It'll probably be that a la carte to continue a course they need for a foreign language, to get that desired course that they need for their CTE career diploma pathway. So if a student registers for, does that affect the funding that the local school receives? And yes, the funding, as outlined in statute, when a student registers for a course here, let's say they were to select an Algebra 1 course that was $700, the department pays the provider for that course offering. Yeah, and I see a question by Liz regarding, Liz, could you go into a little bit of details on your SSO acronym, and I'll follow up with that. And so, you know, what I'd really encourage y'all to do, and we would really like to hear any type of feedback since this is our year 1 of implementation, is to go and take a look at the Course Choice registration system at www.louisianacoursechoice.net. Go in there, understand that we went live on Monday, knowing that daily what we're doing is, you know, in these early stages is daily we are feeding the system with additional course provider information, as well as all of our course providers are continuing to update their course catalogs, make adjustments to the number of sections that they're offering, inputting their system logos or their provider logos, etc. Yeah, single sign-on. So yeah, Liz, to answer your question is yes, we are using the same student username and passwords yes, there is a single sign-on. The students are being mapped back to a student in our Department of Education database, and eventually we want to move to a point where, you know, this same unique student identifiers that we have for Course Choice is used across our end-of-course testing, you know, our student transcript system, etc. Who teaches the online courses? So online courses are being taught by the provider. Again, I want to emphasize that none of these course offerings are delivered by the Louisiana Department of Education. So for instance, if it's Florida Virtual School, it's the Florida Virtual School instructors that are delivering the courses. If it's Apex Learning, it's the instructors from Apex Learning that are delivering the courses. If it's Jude Dubois, one of our teacher instructors that put in algebra, took his algebra content and put that into Moodle, and he's delivering his course through Moodle, then Jude Dubois is the instructor. So the instructors are delivering the instruction by provider. Yeah, I think what I should emphasize too is, you know, I'm seeing some questions about LMS and registration system. You know, this is in year 1. This is strictly a course choice registration system. It's not a learning management system. It's not like the teachers that deliver the courses will be using some sort of learning management system architecture. This is strictly a student registration system. It's a grade reporting system for the providers where there are dashboard. They have their providers have dashboard access to their students that have enrolled in courses. The school level counselors have a dashboard access where they will go in and they have access to their student enrollments and their student data. And so there are several dashboards built within it. And if anyone has any real nitty-gritty about some of the technology behind this of how we're mapping this back and how we've developed it so that it is student and teacher led, I'd encourage you to email me directly, ken.bradford@la.gov, and we can set up another call and we can walk through some of the schema on what we've done to set this up. Are students allowed to take online courses from providers in the non-Louisiana Course Choice Program? Certainly. And let me make that clear. If a school district can still have bilateral agreements with third-party course providers, they can have agreements with post-secondary institutions for dual enrollment courses. So yes, a school district can still use it. This is a course catalog of courses that are available for students and parents to go in and review, for high school counselors that might be helping that student try to find a course that they need to complete the graduation requirements. But school districts in Louisiana still have the flexibility to identify third-party courses that they might want to offer within their district. And the question is the oversight on that process. We have a set of distance education standards that are outlined in one of our policy documents called Bulletin 741. And there's a set of guidelines for districts that have been in place for several years now about I'll give an example. It's the iNACOL standards. We have that in policy that third-party providers for online courses must meet the iNACOL standards for quality online courses. But yeah, those local districts still have the flexibility to expand their own course catalogs by continuing or creating their own virtual schools, participating in other third-party courses. What does face-to-face mean in the course catalog? Yeah. So in our course catalog, some of the courses are all online courses. So what you'll be able to do is, if you identify, there'll be certain course offerings. I'll give you an example, like an ACT prep course offering. Sylvan Learning is offering an ACT prep course offering. And they'll offer that online, but Sylvan Learning Academy has 15 buildings, sites within Louisiana, brick and mortar sites that a student, if you live in Baton Rouge, you would have an option when you put your zip code in to register for, one, their online course, or two, if you're searching for a course close to you, they'd have an option to go take that course at Sylvan Learning Academy, and that would be a face-to-face course offering. We have some business and industry partners that are offering CTE courses, some welding courses, our community and technical colleges, our institutions of higher education, some of our private higher ed institutions. Those are going to be face-to-face course offerings on a collegiate campus. And so they'll identify those as face-to-face course offerings, not online.
Are there any final questions before we bring this great webinar to a close?
So we have a couple, getting a few more questions come in before we close, so I'll try to take these real quick. Student travel. Yep. So this would be one of the things, for instance, within the course descriptions, where some of the providers, what they're doing is they're providing transportation as part of the course offerings, and so that you would read that in the course description. But there may be other courses where it's a college course and it needs for 3 hours on Thursday evenings or 3 hours on a Saturday, and that's a transportation and travel that is upon the responsibility of the student. And again, that's part of why we've looped our counselors in on this, so that they can make sure that those issues or any concerns they have are being addressed early on, so that students have a way to get to these courses. Yep, Ken's email. I'm not sure if we posted it yet, but it's very simple. Ken, K-E-N, .bradford@la.gov. What has our feedback been from the school districts? We have had a state virtual school that has been run by the Department of Education, and we've been able to backfill a lot of the course needs. And so there is some excitement out there that now, yes, we have increased course offerings that are now available to the students. Additionally, we've had 5 school systems that have decided to participate in the Course Choice Program and open their doors to the good things that they're offering. And the question was, what are we, are there any school districts that are perhaps frustrated that we're outsourcing some of this content and material? And so, at this point, we just turned the registration system on Thursday. But what we've seen so far is that we have engaged all of our school counselors. We've done a series of webinars. Every school site, every principal at our 1,200 plus schools in the state has received information on their role in the program and how they will be working to validate the programs. We've set up a counselor assistance center to help schools work through any issues or concerns. So it's early on yet, but again, this is a nurturing process. We're trying to work with districts, work with parents, and work with students. We had another question about, and I'm sorry, I got 2 minutes left. I'll answer this real quick. Will school system provide proctors for closed book exams? So let's address the exam piece. So the end, and this is in statute too as well, but the end for our courses where there is an end of course exam, that is still administered at the school level. And so that comes under that umbrella of administrative and operational piece of course choice. We talked about leaving a portion of the funding back with the district. The first 10% always stays with the district. And just like now with all third-party courses that students enroll in the state, it'll be similar with course choice. Those test scores, those tests will be administered at the school site. So if I'm taking an algebra course from Florida Virtual, or I'm taking it from Apex Learning or from Connections, I'll do my coursework there, but I still have to take that end of course test, and that will be done proctored at the school site. Okay, we're up on 2 o'clock. I really would like to thank you all for participating today. We had a great set of questions. And again, if I can be of further assistance, I strongly encourage you all to please email me and give us feedback on the system. And if your state's moving in this direction to do something like this, we'll be happy to talk with you about all of our learned lessons. And this hasn't just happened overnight. We put the wheels in motion when this legislation got passed last May. So we're 10 months into the project.